Welcome, everybody, to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. This is the number one podcast when it comes to learning the instruction on how to wholesale real estate. I am your host, Brent Daniels, and it is my absolute pleasure to bring this podcast episode to you today. Now, before we get going, let's think about this. Let's think about if you have a fixed or you have a growth mindset. Okay, if you have a growth mindset, if you're feeling that you are listening to this podcast to learn something that you can immediately take action on, what I want to do is I want to issue this challenge to you. I want you to find 3 things during this podcast, 3 things that you write down that you're going to take action on today. Okay, 3 things that you've learned, 3 things that you can take action on, because I am telling you, if you are just listening to this podcast, then this is pure entertainment for you. That is not the point of these podcasts. That is not the point of bringing you some of the absolute best interviews with wholesalers around the country every single week. The whole purpose of this is so that you get the instruction so that you can take action. So, I challenge you to write down 3 things that you learned from this fantastic interview that we're going to be presenting to you on this podcast here today, and take action on them immediately. So with that, I would like to introduce from Salt Lake City, a phenomenal wholesaler that has done it all. He has been doing flips, he has done wholesaling, and he's doing it in a really, really interesting place in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and we're going to deep dive that as well. Mr. Daryl Evantich, say hello.
Hello, hello. How you doing, Brent?
I am doing excellent. I'm so glad that you joined me on the podcast today and on the YouTube channel. If you guys want to see the video of this, because I think it really helps to see, communication has a lot to do with visual. So make sure you go to Brent Daniels Real Estate on YouTube and check it out. But Daryl, talk to me, man. Salt Lake City, you're there. I see, from the video here, your deal boards are exploding. You've got a lot of things going on. Like, tell me what is going on in your business there in Salt Lake City and also in Ogden.
Yeah, so we're really ramping it up right now. I'm just growing my team, so I just hired my second acquisition manager. I have 2 acquisition managers, 2 full-time cold callers, and then a team of VAs that help with all our back-end office stuff. So we focused on Salt Lake the last month, but it's pretty competitive down there, and our numbers just weren't hitting it. So we're heading back to the 2 counties up north, Davis and Weber County, where we've had a lot more success. It's not as crowded. It's just less headaches and more money, so it's a no-brainer.
I love it. And so when you talk about a team, it looks like you have an office space there. Is this an office, or are you in your house?
Yeah, this is an office right on my brokerage. I think 240 square feet. We got 3 desks in here, room for a 4th right over here. I got a view of the mountains looking over, so it's good.
And you came from a traditional background, right?
Yeah, so I was an engineer for the Air Force for 8 years. Worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio for 5, and then transferred over here to Hill Air Force Base up in Ogden for 3 years. And then last September is when I took the leap and went full bore wholesaling.
Awesome. And so are you done with the military now?
Yeah. So I was never active. I was a civilian, but I sent my resignation letter in September, and September 7th was the done deal.
Awesome. And then you got your real estate license, is that right?
Yeah, I got my license 2 years ago. So I slowly bought my first rental 3 years ago, and then got my real estate license right after that, and then slowly accrued. I have 3 rental properties right now, and then in 2018 I did 3 flips, and I have 3 more going on this year. So slowly started working my way up.
Why did you get your real estate license? I mean, why did you go from the job that you had, which I assume you probably could have done for a long time, to getting a real estate license?
I wanted access to data, and I also wanted to help people. I wanted to be on the seller and the buyer side of transactions. I also had a real estate coach, and we were brainstorming, hey, where do you want to go in 10 years? And so we went through my numbers. I told him, how much I wanted to make and what I wanted to be producing a month. And he's like, dude, your income with the Air Force isn't going to cut it. We need a secondary income. So he's like, "You like real estate? Why don't you get your license?" And I was like, "Okay, it's not a bad idea." So, one thing led to another. Got my license. It helped me with my flips. I also helped a lot of buyers. I focus mainly on investors, helping them find, duplexes, multifamilies, because I'm a numbers guy, analytical. So if it works in the spreadsheet, it works for me, and that's how my clients are too. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got my start.
That's awesome. And what was this coach? It wasn't a real estate coach. Was it just a business coach? Was it a life coach?
No,
What kind of coach was
no,
it?
he was a real estate coach. Yeah,
Yeah.
is Matt Atkinson, MJA Real Consulting. He's based here locally, out of South Jordan. But no, we had this one-on-one call. It was like a 30, 45-minute call into his training program. He just gave me like a lot of data in 30 minutes, and I still utilize some of the tips he gave me today. So.
Got it. And that's what got you into the business. You got into traditional. How did you stumble across wholesaling?
Um, so I did traditional. I bought my first couple rental properties on the MLS, and then I did the Burr method, the buy, rehab, refinance, and rent it back out. And I did that through my lender, who's also my real estate coach, and I bought that from a wholesaler initially. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got my first taste, and then Cody Hoffine, as you guys all know, he's local here, so I saw him speak at the RIAs, and he was talking about if you just put your mind to it, he's like, I'm telling you, those 20, 30, $40,000 assignment fees are coming. And I was thinking, man, that'd be nice, but there's no way I could ever hit that number. So that kind of planted the seed. And then after I did a few flips, saw what the assignment fees were and how much work I had to put in to make the same, if not maybe a little bit less in some scenarios. I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. So I went to wholesaling just because it's clean, it's efficient, and there's velocity of money. I can, once I get something going, I control every aspect of the transaction, and I can make everything happen a lot. So whereas flips, I'm kind of hamstrung by my contractors. I'm hamstrung by listing and waiting for someone to buy it. I'm hamstrung by the city and the permits. So whereas wholesaling is a lot more streamlined.
Yeah. Well, and wholesaling is essentially just sourcing opportunities, right? That's all
Yeah.
wholesaling is. And I absolutely am convinced and believe that it is the bedrock of building a successful real estate investing business, because once you learn how to source the opportunities, I mean, let's be honest, you get the absolute best deals, and you get so much equity. If you decide to keep these properties, if you decide to flip these properties, like if you source the deal yourself, you have such an advantage, because you can wholesale it, you can flip it, or you can hold on to it. And if you're talking about net worth, if you're talking about kind of that legacy wealth or that cash flow wealth, being able to purchase a property, Daryl mentioned a Burr method, which is buy, renovate, refinance, rent out the property. Essentially what that does is you invest your money into it, and then you refinance and you pull the money out and still keep 20% equity. Well, you can't do that if you don't buy a good deal, right? So you got to
Hmm.
sourcing the deals and doing that Burr method is so powerful, because you can have up to typically it just depends on which lender you're talking to, a conventional lender. You have essentially 10 golden tickets, right? You can get 10 rental properties in conventional financing with really, really, really good interest rates. So why wouldn't you want to find the best deals to use those 10 golden tickets? Now there's other lenders that'll open it up and you can get more conventional financing, but the interest rate's going to be higher. So I mean, I think it's really interesting. And you said something before, and I want to dive into your analytical mind a little bit. You were saying that with your coach, you had a specific 10-year plan. You had goals for your 10-year plan. Like, how did you, as an analytical mind, because you're always going to be based in reality. You're not going to go, and just be crazy and be totally like, I'm going to make $1 million a month in 90 days, right? So how did you break down, and just for everybody listening, how did you analyze and break down what you wanted your income to be by the time that 10 years has passed?
Yeah, so I basically picked a number. I said I wanted to have at least $10 million in assets, and I picked my number and how much I wanted to make from passive income stream. I can't remember what it was at the time, but I think it was 3 times what my salary was. So I think it was somewhere like $22,500 per month is what I wanted to be generating. So I had to figure out a way how to do that. And passive income stream is great, but you also need income to put into these passive income deals and equity. So I need to figure out a way to get that money in there. So what I did is I set up, you break it down into 1 year targets. So, okay, where do I want to get to in a year? That seems like impossible, right?
Yep.
And then what we do is we break it into 90-day targets. So it's like, okay, what do
Yep.
I have to do in the next 90 days to try to get to my goal in a year? So then those 90-day goals, those seem achievable, because if you look at your year goal, that seems pretty impossible. But in 90 days, you think you can hit it. So
Yep.
what my 90-day goal was last September when I resigned from my job and started wholesaling was I wanted $112,000 in assignment fees, plus minus, from what I got from my flips as well. So that's what I set out to do, and ended up made $0, didn't hit anything, but it was exponential. So you got to keep in mind the compounding factor. So that's what's so important about it, is people need to just keep going. They quit month 3 and 4, but month 3 and 4 is when everything starts to happen.
Yep.
So if I were to quit after that 90-day challenge, I was a little bit in debt. I had no money coming in, like my flips weren't going well. But I put my head down and I just kept going and grinding and working harder. And then January happened where I got a bunch of properties under contract. February, I ended up wholesaling 4 properties. March, I wholesaled 2. April, I wholesaled 2. And then this month, I'm back up to 3. So and then I just got a call today from someone I talked to last October who said they want to sell their house. So it's all compounding and just coming in.
It's filling up that lead pipeline. It really is. And it's looking at, once you have the data and the information over enough amount of time, you can start predicting your business, right? You can start predicting how long it takes from the first contact to when you get paid on it. I think that's such an important metric because it keeps your mindset churning along. And I think another important factor is when you close a deal, you look at how many leads that I need to get that deal. And then you don't have to replace one lead that you close. You have to replace how many it took for you to close that. So say it takes 20 leads to get a deal. When you get that deal closed, now you have to replace 20 more leads. You got to keep the engine rolling. You got to keep the train just cruising down the tracks. Momentum is so important in this business, just like you were mentioning. I mean, you got to keep going. You got to have blind faith that it will work. The law of cause and effect, right? You are putting so much so much out there, so many conversations. You're talking to so many people, and the effect is you are going to get deals. If you're having quality conversations with distressed property owners, you win.
Yeah, amen.
So let's talk about it. How are you finding your deals?
Yeah, so I don't do any mail, so it's all TTP, and then we're also texting as well. So those are the 2 big pipelines that we're using. So I have my 2 cold callers, my 2 acquisition managers, and they're on the phones all day. And we just focus on motivation. So basically, like all these videos that you put on a YouTube video, like they're 8 to 9 minutes long. I'll send those clips and I'll be watching them at like 10, 11 at night. I'll send them via Skype. Say, hey, watch this, talk about it in the morning, and we'll train on them. And it's just, we're just calling lists. We focused on, so my first 4 months was driving for dollars. So I did that plan, how to make $180,000 in a year.
Yep.
Is what you said.
Yep.
So I did my lunch break. I would drive for dollars. I would come back. I would skip trace them. I would cold call them and just rinse and repeat. And we'd focus on the driving for dollars list, our high equity absentee list, your worn out landlord list.
Yep.
And then we kind of exhausted those lists right now. And now we're just focusing on everything. So we're doing the world list. We're browning out like anybody who hasn't sold their house in 5 years, you're getting a call. So
that has equity.
Yeah, that has equity, right? But in Utah, it's a given. You don't even need to look for equity. If you haven't sold your house in 5 years, you have a lot of equity in your house. So we have the benefit of the doubt of knowing that if you didn't sell in the last 3 to 4 years, you have a ton of equity.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And when you started out, were you making calls yourself?
Yes. So I was a one-man show for probably 2-3 months. I was making the calls. I was skip tracing them, loading them into Mojo. And then my first hire was a VA, and she did all the back office stuff. So I would drive for dollars and then export and send the list to her. Then she would skip trace it, load it into Mojo for me. So when I would come into work, I would just be on the phones all day. And then that got super tiring because I would cold call plus follow-ups. So I'm like, okay, so I did the Call Motivated Sellers program. I have 2 of those people right now, which are awesome. And they are now calling 4 hours a day for me in the mornings. And then I ran my business off of just working those leads plus my old leads.
Love it.
And then I started growing even more from that. So then I hired my first acquisition manager 2 months ago. So I was training her to do the follow-up calls, and then we would go on appointments together. And then now she just got her first deal last Thursday, all via text, using Google Translate because he speaks Spanish.
Sure.
So it was pretty rock solid. And I just hired my second acquisition manager. She started on Tuesday this week.
How do you use Google Translate to text and get deals? Like
copy paste, man.
That's it. So walk us through that. So is it an app? Is it a computer? Is it on like you just go to Google Translate on Google or something?
Yeah, it's Google Translate. They have an app on your phone. You can do it, but so whatever he says in the message, we'll just copy paste, put that in Google Translate. It'll translate it to English, and then we'll write a response, translate to Spanish, and send it to him.
Awesome.
And it was about, I think it was like a week long of negotiations via text, and he said send the contract over, so we did, and he signed it.
Did you have to translate the contract?
No, his wife speaks English, so she read it to him.
I love it. So let's talk about, let's get everybody excited that's listening to this. Let's talk about a juicy deal. Let's talk about a massive deal. Let's talk about something big. Like, let's break down, let's deep dive, let's put you in the hot seat on one of these, right? The old school Tom Kroll hot seat. Let's talk about a deal. What deal do you want to talk about where you picked up the phone or somebody in your staff picked up the phone and through the magic of talking to people, you get a big deal? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I'll do my most recent deal, which was wholesaling an 11-plex.
11-plex, multifamily.
Yeah.
I am telling you guys, if you're not going after multifamily, we're going to snatch it all up. I'm telling you. But let's talk about it. 11-plex. I love it. So
yeah.
Did you purposely go after and skip trace the owners of 11-plex? How did this happen?
No, so it's kind of full circle to your program. So I picked this lead up in September when I first started driving for dollars. This 11-plex is right over. It's literally 0.6 miles from my office. So it's probably one of the first couple of days I was out driving for dollars. The 11-plex is broken up into 3 buildings. So there's a 4-plex, a duplex, and a 5-plex. And the 4-plex was on the street, the frontage, and it looked kind of ratty. So skip traced that, called the owner, and he was basically like, "Hey, I'm not looking to sell now, but after the first of the year, hit me back up and let's talk." So followed up with him in February. And, things led to negotiations, and we finally got it under contract in March. So I never underwrote an apartment deal. I didn't know how much they were worth. I didn't know what I was doing. So I literally reached out to everybody in my market saying, "Hey, who knows how to underwrite this? Who can help me out?" So I had a lot of good help from Jordan Atkin, from other people around that just really, took me under their wing. And it was crazy. So I ended up trying to take it down myself. So we got it under contract. Tyler Kohler, he helped me get the loan through Freddie Mac. So we were underwriting this whole process. He got 10% of the deal, and then I got the other 90%. So I was in the process of underwriting it, and it was just so stressful running a wholesaling business and trying to syndicate money for an apartment deal at the same time. So learning 2 different things. So I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. So I was at a local RIA, and I was just talking to my insurance agent, and I was like, man, this 11-plex is stressing me out. Like, I don't know. It's just like I need to syndicate money, and I just don't have the time to do it anymore. And he's like, well, I'm in the market to buy. I'm like, really? He's like, what do you want for it? And I told him, I was like, I had another contract for 1.4. I was like, hey, I can sell it to you for 1.45. And then 7 days later, I got a wire in my account for the $50,000 assignment fee.
Well, hold on a second. So it was a driving for dollars lead, right? What are you using, an app to get the info? What are you using for driving for dollars?
Yeah, so we did Driving for Dollars, the Driving for Dollars app, and
Okay.
then we just switched to Deal Machine because the Driving for Dollars didn't have like a team mode.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
mhm.
Awesome. So we use Deal Machine for a team of 6 that I have as well. And then you export it, got the owner's info, called him, right? Did you call him or did somebody else call him?
Yeah. So I called him. I followed up with him relentlessly for 6 to 9 months.
Yep.
I negotiated the contract,
Yep.
and yeah.
And how much was that wire that hit your account into your bank account?
50,
50,000.
50,000.
That's
And I gotta thank you. It was all because of you.
yep.
You said you put out the $50,000 club, right?
That's
And he
right.
was trying to beat me down negotiating, and I was like, no, I need 1.45 because I need to. In my mind, I said I need to be in this $50,000 club, so I
That's
wasn't
right.
going to take anything less. So I was like, all
I
right, it's
absolutely listen. I wholeheartedly, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about in the TTP program, I tell everybody that's part of that they owe me a $50,000 deal, a massive deal to join the $50,000 club, and we've got dozens of people in this club, and it is because fundamentally I believe your brain chemistry changes when you get $50,000 or more in one deal. I really do. Don't you feel like the sky's the limit? Like you could do this over and over and over?
Yeah. No, it's once you open it up, it just seems so much more possible. Because I was playing with, five, 10, $15,000 assignment fees, and once I had those big ones, I don't even waste my time with anything under like 5 to 10 now.
Right. And by the way, you're going to do more deals and more deals and more deals. It just happens like that. When I was starting out, like 10,000 was like, oh my gosh, 5 figures on a deal. This is bananas. And then I remember I got the first $40,000 deal, and then I got my first $72,000 deal, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it really opened it wide open. And now we average 27,000 a deal, and life is just so much better because we do bigger deals, and it's all because of the
Hmm.
mindset. It really is like changing up your whole brain chemistry to just think different. It's a different neural pathway. It's just fantastic, and I love that you did it, and you did it so fast. I mean, really, you really did. In the scheme of things, 7 days later. I mean, in this thing, when did you join TTP?
I want to say like August or September of last
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
somewhere in there.
And just building it up and building it up, and you've got are you still doing traditional business? Are you still a realtor?
Yeah, so I'll list my flips, and then I'll help out selective investors who buy multifamily specifically. But right now, I'm focusing mainly on just building my wholesale business up to get that cash flow rolling in, and then probably in the fall of this year, start deploying capital into equity and properties.
Love it, love it. And you're in a really tough market when it comes to the Department of Real Estate really looks at wholesaling in a different light than it does in other places. And if you don't live in Utah, if you don't live in Salt Lake City, that's fine. But this could be a model for other cities, other states to adopt. So you have to do it a little bit differently, right? It's not just about assigning your interest in a contract.
Yeah,
And by the
exactly.
way, Daryl's not an attorney, so if you're in Utah or whatever, check that out and talk to an attorney about the right ways, like you did. But I mean, what's the right way to do it there?
Yeah, so basically, I'll probably forget a few things, but the gist of it is, especially if you're a real estate agent, the division is kind of focusing on that. If you want to wholesale in the state, you're going to need your real estate license. Is kind of
Yep.
the word coming down,
Yep.
but it's still kind of up in the air. But the main things is, as an agent, you need to have full disclosure to the seller that, hey, you're an agent. In your addendum, you need to have them sign a for sale by owner addendum agreement
Yep.
stating that they represent themselves,
Yep.
and that in the addendum, you need to state that you don't have any fiduciary duty to them, that they represent themselves. They'll seek their own legal counsel,
Yep.
and as will I do the same. You also want to disclose that you have the right to market the property, to show the property, anything, show pictures, things like that, which is basically to get your your cash buyers into the house, to send out emails with pictures and videos.
Yep.
You need that disclosure up front. And then you also have to let them know that you're going to assign the property, that it's assignable, because in the actual REPC, the real estate purchase contract, I think one of the number 9 or 10 states that that this contract's not assignable. So in the addendum, you need to reiterate, hey, this is.
Yep.
And then also you just have to reiterate to the seller that, hey, I could be either taking this down myself and making a profit, or I could turn around, sell it the next day for up to $1 million and make a profit. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
And and every time, they're fine with it, because they just, we're providing value, we're fulfilling a need to them.
Yep.
So as long as they get their money and we solve their problem, everybody's happy.
Yeah. Have you had any problems when you disclose?
No problems at all. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
people are so scared, and they think that it's like some some huge hurdle, but really you're just having a conversation. This is the process that I take in my business. Do you understand? Does it make sense? Do you have any issues? No. Great. Boom. You go. They just want it to be as simple as possible. Remember, wholesaling, they're trading equity for speed and convenience. We're providing it. We're talking to people every day. We're reaching out, right? These are distressed property owners that we're having quality conversations with. So we're providing an unbelievable value there. Listen, I don't know if you've ever had the situation where you've been distressed by a property, but it is terrible. It weighs on your mind. It weighs on your shoulders. It affects everything in your life. It affects your happiness. When somebody comes along that has a solution to that problem, it is an incredible value. So that's what we're doing out there. You really got to look at the mental construction of how you think about the tasks that we do on a daily basis to find these opportunities. We are truly, truly, truly solving problems in this business, and it is absolutely a blessing to these people. It is not a burden. So go out there, talk to people, and make a real impact in your community, because you are doing an amazing, amazing service to the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And then to add on that, one more thing to circle back on what the division wants to see. So I guess assigning properties is I guess they're frowning upon it. So the workaround that we get around it is in the seller name, we'll put a trust. So we'll create a trust, say the 123 Main Street Trust. And then me as the agent will be the buyer's agent representing that.
Yep.
So when I assign a contract, I'm closing on it with the trust, but then I sell the beneficial interest of the trust over to the end buyer in a separate transaction. And a trust sale is, personal property, and it's not considered a real estate transaction. So again, while I'm not an attorney, it's what an attorney told me. So just relaying that on.
Find a good attorney in Salt Lake. That's awesome. Well, Dale, to wrap this thing up, how do people get a hold of you? If people want to, network with you, or maybe joint venture with you, or just be in your world, how do they find you? What's the best way to communicate with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. It's Darryl Evantich, DarrylEvantich. So I'm active on both of those. I also have a website, darrylevantich.com, so you can reach out to me on there. So I'm pretty active in the RIAs if you want to meet up with locally. I got an office in Bountiful if you want to stop by and say what's up. But yeah.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. I think, there's a lot of people that that listen to this that are in Salt Lake or Utah, and they're wondering about some of the different regulations with wholesaling or assigning deals. I think that people are understanding that you literally can drive around in the community, find rundown properties, get their phone numbers, and give them a call and see if they consider an offer. I mean, this is proof here. And you can take your whole brain and just change everything and the way it's wired by getting a massive deal. You are proof positive of that. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. Say goodbye to everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. It was a good one. Thanks for having me on, Brent.
And everybody, if you are interested in joining the most proactive, the most on offense group in real estate investing, you need to go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check out the page. It's wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Scroll down, look at what the program's about, check out the testimonials, and if it seems like the right fit for you, if you have enough self-awareness to know that this is what you want in your life, then sign up for a call. It'll be the absolute best call of your year. And second to that, the Deal Machine app, if you go to dealmachine.com, or you go to Deal Machine on the App Store on Apple or or wherever. Use TTP as a coupon code. You get $9 off. It is a phenomenal resource for you out there when you're starting your business. So check that out. Daryl, you're the man. I really appreciate it. Rhinos out there, I encourage you to talk to people. Until next time, love you guys. See ya.
Oh.